if you've got an online business that you don't need to be in one specific location, that gives you location freedom.
Right.
So you can travel, you can be in whichever country that, you want to be in, essentially.
Obviously, your journey has been like one of entrepreneurship.
I'd worked in kind of sales and marketing, but what can I do? And I'm in Egypt. I read the story of Abdurahman ibn Auf, radiallahu anhu, one of the most wealthy businessmen in Mecca. He left it all when he made migration to Medina, and he went to the marketplace and he traded, and Allah provided for him. So I asked one of the brothers, is there any marketplace? And then I've come to like a section where they're selling Islamic clothes. And I'm thinking, I don't remember there being that much selection in the UK of Islamic dress. Maybe that will be in demand. I spoke to one of the manufacturers and said, look, could you put my name brand in it? And so he agreed, built a website, and the next morning woke up to an email, congratulations, you made a sale. 1 niqab turned into 2, turned to 3, turned to 5, whatever.
Right.
And over time, the orders started to increase, and we were selling to over 14 countries worldwide.
Get your copy of the Hijrah Handbook at book.makehijrah.com. Bro, let's start from the beginning.
Okay.
Let's talk about how you came to Islam.
I always had from a young age, like a natural feeling that there was a great to be in. Despite growing up in a mainly atheist household, I still had this feeling.
Right.
And obviously growing up in the UK, a young man, you try and fill that void with what everyone else is doing. I decided to move to London. I thought, it'll be better for my career if I really kind of go down that route, then I'll find happiness. So I moved to London, started working in the IT world. The company I was working for in London, I was one of the top performers. And then I branched out, started my own business, started signing clients, big companies in the UK. And at this age, I'm only like 19, 20 years old. So I'm walking through the high street, it was a typical weekend, go buy some clothes, whatever. And there's a brother there with a table giving dawah in the high street. And he's wearing a thobe. And, I wouldn't normally stop for somebody in the street, just like trying to call me over and just keep moving. But it was like Allah put something in myself that I just felt just warmth and just love towards this brother. I don't know what it was. So he called me over and he asked me, what do you think the purpose of life is? And I'm thinking, wow, I wasn't expecting that question. I wasn't expecting a question like that. And so I left him that day. He gave me a DVD. There was a days when we still watch DVDs.
Sure, yeah,
and it was a lecture on the purpose of life. And so I went home, I watched this DVD, and then everything made sense. And it was like a light had turned on. So then the following week, I saw the same brother in the same place, and we spoke. And, he said, did you watch the video? I said, yeah, I watched it. And then I've done my own research, and I can't find any faults in this.
You took your shot with him that day?
That day in the high street. And then everybody just kind of crowded around me in the high street. It was like, Allahu Akbar, people hugging me, coming out. And I'm just thinking, whoa, wait.
So how much time did you spend in the UK after accepting Islam before you decided to move?
It's about 1 year.
1 year?
1 year.
Did you even know that was an option? Like to go live in another place, like just leave the UK totally and just go move to a Muslim country?
Initially, I didn't, but there was a brother who had become Muslim about 6 months prior to me becoming Muslim. We were around the same age, and he'd moved to Egypt. And I spoke to him, and he said, yeah, he's learning Arabic in this Islamic environment. You can hear the call to prayer. No one's gonna, judge you because you want to go and pray and things like this. So it's a lot freer. You're able to practice your religion a lot freer.
Right. And
so that was kind of how I come to think about the possibility of moving abroad. And then what kind of really gave me the final push was, I got married. My wife was pregnant. And, now I'm responsible for another life. That was kind of the thing that made me think I need to make a decision. I need to move quickly.
So you said a friend of yours moved to Egypt.
Yeah.
And he told you he's learning and everything.
Yeah.
But that sounds good. But what about your life there in the UK? Because you said you started a business, you had major clients. So how did your accepting Islam conflict with that, with the business you were doing? Or
so actually, what happened with my business when I become Muslim, I stepped down from my business. So I had a business partner, and we were friends, and we done everything together. He came with me on that trip to Bulgaria, and we done everything together.
Right.
When I become Muslim, it just he wasn't happy. he wasn't happy at all. And this was kind of one of the things, like, I remember when I told him that I become Muslim, his face changed. He got so angry. And it's a side I've never, ever seen from him. And we had a lot of discussions together, like talking about spiritual things. And I thought we were on the same page. So I thought, if anything, he might become Muslim himself.
Right.
And we sat down and we went through all of the proofs and everything that I'd studied. And he accepted that it was straight. He didn't have any fault in it.
Right.
But he just didn't want to take that step and become a Muslim. And he was angry that I become Muslim. And it was a side that I'd never seen from him before, which actually gave me confidence that I'm doing something, I'm on the right path. And so I made a decision that I wanted to step away from that. You know, and for me, you know, I knew that I was not going to get fulfillment from these worldly things.
Right.
I knew I needed to make money, I needed to survive, but my priority was here. My priority was on this new path.
Right.
So I was prepared to step down from that, you know, and had confidence and faith that, you know, inshallah, if it's right for me, I'll be able to build it again.
Right.
So I was doing like odd jobs, do anything to survive.
Right.
You know, at that stage, you know, and obviously I got married. So I was doing anything to survive. And alhamdulillah, I got a good opportunity. One of the brothers had like a security company and he needed somebody to manage it.
Right.
And so I was working with him on that and doing marketing and branding and helping him with those kind of things. And so that was a good opportunity for me.
Right.
However, when it was time to leave, you know, I knew I had to leave all of this. You know, there was no comparison. For me, there was not the question of, oh, but what about, you know, your work and things like that. Right. It was, you know, this is a priority. I need to raise my family in a more Islamic environment. So if that means I have to make sacrifices, then I have to make sacrifices.
So how did you prepare to leave?
So the company that I was working with, the security company, we had an agreement. I would do little bits of work online. Okay. You know, and it would, you know, we'll work out a salary that would be enough to suffice. Obviously, Egypt, you know, the Egyptian pound versus the British pound. You know, they didn't have to send me a lot, but it went a long way. Right. And so that was the agreement. Right. So I had like a safety net, if you like, or, you know, some kind of backup, some kind of plan in terms of how I'd be able to survive financially. I had a little bit of savings. And so when we came out, that's what I came with. You came to Egypt, you and your family. So what was your first impressions? I didn't have any real expectations. However, it wasn't what I was expecting, if that makes any sense. Like as soon as we stepped out of the airport and we got on the roads, the cars weaving in and out of each other and the horns and, you know, it was, you know, something, I thought London traffic was bad, but I've never seen anything like this than what I've seen in Cairo. And thinking like, wow, we stepped into like the wild, wild west. Then we moved to an area, you know, not far from Nasser city, you know, very congested area. And the apartment we moved to, you know, it was, you know, there it's like tower block after tower block after tower block. Like we've lived on like 11th floor, 9th floor, you know. So this is the kind of area that we moved to. And so, you know, congested. There will be times like, you know, you might be in the kitchen cooking and you see a cockroach walk out. You know, this is something that we've never experienced before. So that definitely was a big shock to us, you know, when we first arrived. So what stopped you from saying, you know what? Pack it up and get out of here. Well, look, you know, the thing was, I knew that we were going to be tested. You know, alhamdulillah, I had studied enough to know that, you know, in this life, we're going to be tested. We're going to be tested with good and we're going to be tested with bad. And my intention to come to Egypt wasn't for worldly gain. I wasn't coming here to live in a flash lifestyle. But what I would gain, you know, what I sacrificed from the worldly side, I would hope I would gain a lot more in terms of my religion. And so that's what kind of kept me patient and my family patient, was we came here for other reasons. Our intention was to learn the religion, to raise our children in a more Islamic environment where they won't be the minority, where they won't ever have to feel that void, you know, and they feel they have to search for these, you know, they find contentment in worldly things, where they understand that first and foremost is our religion and everything else comes after that. And it will be kind of hypocritical if we didn't act on that ourselves. And so that's, you know, we were patient for that period. And, you know, we were studying. So as soon as we landed, we got straight into studies. You know, so I was working maybe a year and a half in terms of the studies, like from Dhuhr till after Isha, I would be in the books trying to learn the Arabic language, because that was one of the things that kind of was a big shock to us here. English doesn't work here so well, you know, and coming from the UK, I never thought about another language. It just never crossed my mind. Even when a brother, subhanAllah, one of the brothers, when I was leaving, a brother gave me a book. And I think it was Tafsir Ibn Kathir. And he's like, do you want this book of tafsir? You know, it explains the Quran. I was like, yeah, akhi, that would be nice. Jazakallah khair. And it was in Arabic. And I said, akhi, don't worry, I don't need it. Like, you know, it just wasn't in my mind, even as a Muslim, that I would really be able to learn a new language.
Right.
You know, and so when we came to Egypt, everything's Arabic. I think being in Egypt, specifically because it's an Arab-speaking country, helped to learn Arabic. Right. Because what I'm learning in the daytime, I'm putting to work, you know, even when I'm out buying things or whatever for the house, for the family, I'm getting to practice.
Right. What if I can give you over 22 years of Hijrah knowledge in just a few hours? Well, with the Hijrah Handbook, I've attempted to do just that. This book holds the same systems I've used to stay and raise my family in the Muslim world for the past 22 years. This knowledge has already helped many Muslims have thriving lives abroad, and inshallah, it can help you do the same. So don't wait. Visit book.makehijrah.com to get your copy now. So after a few months, the company you were working for, it goes out of business.
Yeah.
So now what? Now that's another reason why you should hit the road.
So I got the phone call, Abdurahman, really sorry, we've lost the client and we're going to shut the business down. And so at that stage, I'm thinking, okay, great. I've got a little bit of savings, which, you know, we'll be able to live off for some time, but not long. So what am I going to do? Do I buy a ticket and just go back and try and find work and maybe try and do the back and forth thing?
Right.
Or do I try and stick it out here in Egypt? I grew up without a father. And I think growing up without a father, it gives you, you know, you appreciate that, you know, having someone like that. You know, I didn't want that for my children.
Right.
So I didn't want to be a father, an absent father.
Right.
I didn't want to be, you know, in another country, just sending money and there's nothing, and I don't have anything, you know, people, you got to do what you got to do, right? But for me, I just really wanted to try and make it work.
Right.
I tried everything. You know, I tried everything, you know, and I was reading up and I was making a lot of dua. You know, I didn't have any real skills as such. You know, I'd worked in kind of sales and marketing, but you know, what can I do? And I'm in Egypt, you know, and I don't really speak the language. Right. So what can I do? And so I read the story of Abdurahman ibn Auf, radiallahu anh, when he was, you know, one of the most wealthy businessmen in Mecca. He left it all when he made migration to Medina. And the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam paired him with one of the wealthy from the Ansar, the most wealthy of the Ansar. And that Ansari said to him, you can have half my wealth and you can look at one of my, you know, both of my wives, and then whichever one you like, I'll divorce her. And then once she's completed her iddah period, then you can marry her. And Abdurahman ibn Auf, even though he's been given it on a plate, he said, you know, I'm not in need of any of that, you know, barakallahu feek, but is there any marketplace that you can direct me to? And he went to the marketplace and he traded and, you know, and alhamdulillah, he got married and, you know, and Allah provided for him. And so, you know, I read that hadith. So I asked one of the brothers, is there any marketplace? Is there any marketplace in Egypt? And he said, yeah, there's a marketplace called Ataba. Go to Ataba. Right. And so I went to Ataba, got on the train, went to Ataba. And Ataba, you know, as you know, is like super busy. Right. People selling off tables. Right. You can find anything there. Right. You know, people selling electronics, people selling clothes, people selling anything and everything you can think of is in Ataba. And it's something that I've never, we don't have markets like that in the UK. That hectic and that busy. Right. But I'm there in this marketplace and I'm walking up and down and I'm looking and I don't really know what I'm looking for, but I'm trying to get an idea and I'm trying to think. Right. And I'm thinking about, you know, what do I do in my day? You know, I study with foreign students. You know, what were some of the things that they might buy from me? Maybe I can buy and sell. Right. Like Abdurahman did, you know, he was trading. Right. So I'm looking around thinking, what can I buy? You know, I've only got a small amount of money. And then I've come to like a section where it's like a bakery, like cooking items. Right. And I know my wife can cook. She can bake, you know, nice cakes. So I'm thinking maybe we can, you know, bake cakes. And maybe we can sell cakes to the students after the lessons. And so I got some equipment and we started making cupcakes. And that's what we done. That's what the first thing we done. We was, you know, in our small flat we had at the time. And, you know, we had a small oven and it's like the blazing heat of the summer. Right. And we've got this oven on, you know, throughout the day and we're cooking these cupcakes. So then, you know, I've got all these cupcakes in my bag ready and I've got like a foldable table. I go to my lesson in the evening. Well, as soon as my lesson's finished, come out of the lesson, put my table out, put my cupcakes out and selling cupcakes to the students. And I was making enough money that would cover our daily expenses and to invest back into ingredients for the next day, right? We were surviving, we were surviving. But then there was a dip in the Egyptian pound. And so the value of it basically halved. And, and I couldn't put the price up. I mean, I'm charging students at the end of the day.
Right.
So I couldn't put the price up of my cupcakes too much because the students they'd be like, come on, it's like, you're going to double the price.
Right.
But all my costs have doubled. And so I had to think kind of outside the box. Okay, well, maybe trying to earn money in Egyptian pound is not the best idea. Maybe I should think about trying to sell abroad.
Right.
And, and bring in foreign currency. Maybe that will do better for us. And so I've gone back to Ataba and I'm walking up and down again and I'm looking around. I'm looking at electronics and I'm looking at other areas. And then I've come to like a section where they're selling Islamic clothes, thobes, abayas, niqabs. Right. And I'm thinking, I don't remember there being that much selection in the UK of Islamic dress. Maybe that will be in demand. And so I didn't have a lot of money to invest. So I think I bought 1 or 2 niqabs because it was like the cheapest item that I could buy and I could afford to risk. Right. So I bought 2 niqabs, got home, took pictures, wrote up descriptions, put them on eBay. Then the next morning, woke up to an email, congratulations, you made a sale. And now the money that I made from that niqab sale made more money than if I was selling cakes for like 2-3 days.
One piece?
One piece.
You were selling one niqab?
I was selling one piece, yeah. I didn't have enough money to invest in a lot of stock. So I was selling piece by piece. I make a sale, I invest some of that profits into more stock. Right. And then obviously we're living off it as well. And so we're literally from ground zero, we started. Right. And so 1 niqab turned into 2, turned to 3, turned to 5, whatever. Right. And we're selling, and we're shipping out. The problem that I faced was very high costs. eBay takes a cut, PayPal takes a cut, and then I've got high shipping costs because I'm sending one item. Right. So my shipping cost is like $15, $16 per item. How much can you really sell on a niqab for? Right. Even if I bought the niqab for like $2, $3, I can't sell it for too much. Right. So what I thought was, what if I had my own brand and somehow, directed traffic from eBay to my brand? Right. If I had my own channel that I could sell to direct to the customer, so I could kind of cut out all of these other people, eBay, PayPal, that are taking cuts out of the profits. Right. And so I spoke to one of the manufacturers and I said, look, can you make my own garments? Can you put my label in it? Can you put my name brand in it? And so he agreed. So I came up with the name Jamelia.com. And I made my own niqabs with my tag on it and built a website. So I had some knowledge, obviously, building websites. So I built a website and put the products on there. I also put them on eBay, but I put them on eBay. Made sure I made the name known. It's Jamelia. Right. So on the hope that people will be curious to find out more about this brand, right, and maybe try and look for them there if they've got their own website, I can buy directly. Right. Because I could even put the cost of the items for less on my own website, right, because I don't have all these extra fees, and still make more money. Right. And alhamdulillah, people started to come.
So that worked.
So it worked. It started to work. But it wasn't just based off that. Also, this started my journey learning more about online marketing, right, and SEO and how to get my products to rank higher in Google. Right. And over time, the orders started to increase. I mean, I was still sending obviously one by one, right, but the orders started to increase and we were selling to over 14 countries worldwide.
But as a side note, what were you using, Egyptian Post or?
Egypt Post, yeah. It was going well. We were starting to get, just starting to get back on my feet. We were starting to meet our expenses and we were starting to get comfortable. Then I had a trip I had to make back to the UK, an emergency trip. I had to sort out some paperwork. So I couldn't run the business because I'm doing everything. I'm going to the marketplace, I'm getting materials, I'm going to the tailors, I'm making, he's making me jilbabs, abayas, piece by piece. I only have enough money to make, a few orders. Right. Literally as the order comes in, then I'm shipping out and I'm reinvesting into more stock, and that's how it was working. So I've gone back to the UK for 3 months to sort out the paperwork and everything I need to sort out in that time. And I'm just doing odd jobs because I can't run the online store while I'm abroad. Right. I'm doing like security, anything that just to get by, to send money back home to my family and obviously to support myself while I'm in the UK. Right. I was doing that for about a month and a half. Then I got a phone call from my brother saying, I heard you're in the UK, like a friend of a friend. Heard you're in the UK. Heard you got some experience in marketing. I've got a cafe in London, a cafe. Look, I was supposed to sell it. It's not doing well. I was trying to sell it. The sale didn't come through. I'm just thinking, do I cut my losses and just keep the place shut? Or do I reopen it? And this was in Ramadan. So I'm just wondering, Abdurahman, do you want to come take a look, sit with me, see if there's anything you think we can do? And I had nothing else going on. So I'm like, it's got to be worth going and sitting with him and see what we can do. So we sat down, we had a meeting. And I looked at the place and we spoke about ideas and, we felt we can make it work. He didn't have a lot of budget to invest in renovations. But we made it work. We spent the last 2 weeks in Ramadan, me and him in the shop, renovating it, painting it, getting new tables, just doing what we can. We launched after Ramadan, after Eid, and it was a success. It done really well. So it went from making a loss to making a profit. And and as part of the deal, I would get some shares in the business. And I said to him, look, we'll get it to a stage. I'll stay with you an extra month. We'll get it to a stage where it's stable, and you can run it. And I'll just maintain the marketing and the digital stuff that I was doing whilst being abroad, because I got to get home. Right. And so that was the deal. So after a month, I've gone back home and I'm working remotely. So this was like my first remote marketing client, essentially. Right. And that's kind of how we started. I'm only taking a small amount of money from this. It's not making a huge. Anybody who's ever run a cafe, one cafe doesn't make that much money, but it was enough to make our expenses. And it's now entered me into this new world of work. And instead of me having to go to the marketplace every day and get materials and all of that at work, I can just work from home. I can be close to my family and I can work online. So I started to study more about digital marketing and went back to school, if you like, in terms of studying web design from the ground up, coding, SEO. I was already doing SEO with the e-commerce store, so I had some experience. I studied more, and then I started offering more services to clients. I can build websites. Starting offering services to clients in the UK, US, building websites. Started building websites. Then they're like, okay, what next? Then we do SEO, and so I'm building up my client base. At the same time, I had an Egyptian company that I was speaking to about marketing, and they said, okay, let's have a deal where you come work in our office a few days a week, and you can head up our marketing department. And so I was doing that as well as trying to build up my client base. The Egyptian company wasn't paying me a lot in terms of, salary, but it was giving me a lot of experience. And I was learning the Egyptian dialect because I'm working with Egyptians. Right. So my Egyptian Arabic, I was picking it up a lot quicker. Right. So I was getting that benefit. And then my clients started to pick up on the agency side. And I actually formed the agency. So instead of just being a freelancer, I actually formed a company, an agency. I'm getting more clients. That I could leave this, the work I was doing for this Egyptian company and just focus on my agency. And that's kind of where I've got to now. I've been doing that for 5-6 years.
MashaAllah. So this whole journey, how long has it been? You came to Egypt until now?
It's been about 11 years this year.
MashaAllah, man. MashaAllah. So it hasn't been all perfect.
It's been a lot of ups and downs and there's been a lot of challenges along the way. Right. But every single challenge has taught me something that's helped me later down the line. Right. Like the selling the cakes. Right. And running that business and working up profit margins and stuff like that, it helped. Right. The online business selling the clothing. Right. Taught me a lot about SEO, about web design. Right. And so every single, and going back to the UK as well, that was an unexpected trip. I didn't want to go back and obviously leave my family. Who wants to leave their family? Right. But going back to the UK to sort out that paperwork opened up an opportunity for me to meet this brother. And, and so everything was connected.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is your brother Hamza from the Make Hijrah channel. Many of you have requested consulting services from us, so we have created a page just for you.
Did you have any doubts as to your longevity in Egypt when you had the ups and downs? Or did you just keep...
No, I didn't have doubts.
MashaAllah.
I didn't have doubts. I never thought about, I have to go back to the UK to survive. I alhamdulillah, I had faith that, the one that provides for me in the UK is the same one that provides for me here. So I didn't, alhamdulillah, I didn't have that. And also as well, I read the ayah of Allah in Surah An-Nisa, verse 100, about those who leave their homes in the cause of Allah will find on earth many dwelling places and plenty to live by. And since I've been in Egypt for 11 years, I think we've moved house 12, 13 times. So we've had many dwelling places and plenty to live by. And don't get me wrong, Yeah, there's been times where, obviously we've struggled financially, but we've always ate. Every day we've been able to eat. Alhamdulillah. So Alhamdulillah, Allah kept me firm, and I didn't have doubts that I needed to go back to the UK. Alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah. What tips would you give people that hear your story and are inspired by your story, and they want to leave? What would you advise them based on your experience?
Make a plan. If you're talking about Hijrah, if somebody wants to make Hijrah, then this is leaving in the cause of Allah. This is making a journey in the cause of Allah. And Allah has already given the promise. So it's not for me to say. Allah has already given the promise that you'll find on earth many dwelling places and plenty to live by. And those of you who leave their home in the cause of Allah and death overtakes them, then surely their reward is incumbent upon Allah. So read that ayah. The promise of Allah is true.
Right.
So that's the first thing is, if your intention is to make Hijrah, then put your trust in Allah that Allah will provide for you. At the same time, look at the examples of those that have preceded us, like Abdurahman ibn Auf, radiallahu anh. What did he do? He made that migration, but he didn't just accept handouts. He went to the marketplace and he traded. He looked for his sustenance. Right. And another great story as well, which I really like, is the story of Maryam alayhi salam, when she was pregnant with Isa alayhi salam, and she went out. She went out and she was sat by the date palm tree, and she was hungry. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Jibreel alayhi salam to say to her, your Lord instructs you to shake the tree. And so she shook the tree, and then the dates fell, and then she ate. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is more than able to just send the dates without any action needed.
I get you.
But she was instructed to shake the tree. So that's all that's required of us. It's just to shake the tree. I'm not saying be hasty, especially if you've got a family.
Right.
I didn't come out here with nothing. Like I had some kind of agreement that I would be doing work with the company online. I had something set up. So I wouldn't say be hasty and drop everything and don't have a plan. Make a plan, but put your trust in Allah and be prepared to put in the work.
Obviously, your journey has been like one of entrepreneurship. Would you advise people to get clued up on business and look at their options wherever they are to see how they can make money this way as like a independent rather than looking for jobs or something like that? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I would advise entrepreneurship 100%, but it's not for everybody. There's some people that make fantastic employees, and then there's some people that make fantastic employers.
That's true. Right.
So, and there's no successful company would be there if there wasn't an entrepreneur and then employees.
Yeah, that's right.
So there's really you can't say the one is better than the other. There's pros and cons for both. There's people that are more suited for being employees,
right,
and people that are more suited for being employers.
Right.
If you're somebody who's, a go-getter, somebody who's determined, resilient, somebody who's optimistic, somebody who embraces challenge, somebody who can deal with problems, and you're not going to wait around for somebody to help you, and you'll go and you'll work with whatever you have. If you're somebody like that, then yes, 100%, and you want to obviously be an entrepreneur and you want to have your own business, then I would advise it 100%. Because having your own business, it comes with perks, it comes with benefits. Firstly, you have, if you sell a product or service, the more sales you make, potentially more money you're going to make. Right. So you've got earning potential.
Right.
Also, you've got, if you, for example, now we live in a digital world. If you've got an online business that you don't need to be in one specific location,
right,
that gives you location freedom.
Right.
So you can travel, you can be in whichever country that, you want to be in, essentially, inshallah. And the third thing as well, it gives you flexibility. When you're your own boss, if it's time to pray, you stop and you pray.
Right.
You don't have to, listen to, and you make the rules, essentially.
Right.
So it gives you that flexibility, especially if you've got an online business, you can work from home, you can be close to your family. Those that make Hijrah, oftentimes they're leaving their families.
Right.
So, you want to be around your family as much as possible because you don't have that extra support network. So if you can have something online, but you can still be close to your family, then this is ideal for you.
Right.
So for those people that are seriously considering entrepreneurship, then I would definitely advise it for those reasons. Sure.
Yeah. Well, tell us what you got going on. Well, let's start with your business and to let people know if they can patronize you or what have you. And then, of course, where they can find you online.
So the agency that I run is called Quace.com. We specialize in providing digital services to companies. And we've got a team now, a global team, that we provide services like web design and SEO and Google Ads and digital marketing services.
Right.
So that's my agency. Right. But building that agency and now having staff and a team, a fantastic team that deliver the services, now freed up my time. So the free time that I have now, I want to try and give some of that back. Hence why I started my YouTube channel, Abdurahman Digital, where I start to teach some of the lessons that I wish I had known when I started my journey. Because when I first, when I was in Egypt and I lost that job, I didn't know what to do.
Right.
And I wish I'd had somebody say, look, just do this, just focus on this and you'll be able to earn income. And so with my channel, Abdurahman Digital, the goal is to try and give back and give some of that knowledge back to help other people in a similar journey.